Monday morning on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here. Patrick Reusse with me as usual. Patrick out in Cooperstown area at least, New York, for Joe Mauer's Hall of Fame induction. How was the weekend, Patrick?
Oh, I think this is about six times I've been here. Four inductions, and then a couple of times when guys did their indoctrination thing. I went with Tony and I went with Kirby for those, and that's when only one reporter comes, so that's pretty good. But yeah, I think I was downtown this morning. The bakery's not open yet. It was supposed to be at 6:30. They maybe sold enough donuts for the last 4 days. They said, "To hell with it. Let's all sleep in." But I drove by the building and said, "I don't think I'll be back. We don't have any prospects here. It's going to be a long while before Royce Lewis makes the Hall of Fame, or the lineup for that matter."
I was gonna say,
And, Anyway, yeah, it's always good, and I didn't think they announced 28,000 yesterday, but they inflated. But I thought the crowd was smaller than it was when Cotton and Oliva were here a couple of years ago with that group. So I don't know. It was fun. It's always good being out here, and you get to see a lot of people. And my dear friend Jerry Fraley, who died in 2019, was put in the Scribes and Mike Men section.
right.
They get a certificate in there, but it's still a big deal for the baseball writing fraternity. So that was another reason to come out too. So for Jerry's family, and my friend Wicker did the acceptance speech for him, and it was
Oh,
fantastic.
nice.
So anyway, so yeah, but Joe was, Joe Dev, we did Twins fans. Let's say there were 20,000. There were at least eight or nine from we dominated the size of the crowd. The Rockies were, they're okay, but the Rockies are. I don't think the Rockies are quite in the soul of the people out there like the Twins
Right.
are in Minnesota. And Beltre had he gets the Dominican crowd and the other people, and that was okay. And then Leland had not that big a crowd, but this was his second Hall of Fame. Yeah, he's in the Marlboro Hall of Fame too. I guess.
He is.
I
He is
wonder, that's
indeed.
the longest I think he's ever gone without smoking a cigarette. So I'll give him credit for that. Anyway, yeah, it's fun. It's always good out here, and it's a pain in the ass getting here, but it is. I mean, it always shocks you that this is the zenith of
Yes.
baseball, and it's stuck away in this little place. And I was driving around this morning for a minute, and there's deer walking all over town, right
Yeah.
down Main Street. That like 45 minutes ago, a mom and one little one were walking right across the middle of Main Street, and it's a different place to say the least.
Yeah, I've been there twice, just to spectate. Like, I think it was like around late 1998 maybe, and then again in the mid 2000s with some friends. And it's just kind of, you're like, oh, are we gonna where are we? Are we gonna get there soon? They're like, oh, I guess we're here. Here, this is it.
Yeah, you're
We
going
are
there.
here.
That they had the ceremony for Joe Castiglione and Fraley out on the lake, 9 miles out on the lake at the
Yeah.
Opera Hall. That drive along the lake, I'm glad I never had to drive that one when I was drinking. Man, you'd end up in the lake. The things, and you get a little fog there. I don't know what you'd do, but it is a different kind of place, and it's the people they assemble here. I met a lot of Minnesota folks that are now spread out around the country, but they came in because they're still Twins fans.
Well, you have like, when Joe was playing, you had like it was kind of like the rise of the internet, a little bit of social media era towards, the middle and end of his career. And you had that kind of like, small but vocal group of detractors who are like, "Hey, he
Yes,
doesn't hit enough home runs. He doesn't come through
yeah,
in the clutch in the playoffs, stuff like that." But if you just like step back a little bit and think, my God, he's a guy from St. Paul who they drafted, somewhat controversially, even though he was, a no doubt talent, but that draft had Mark Pryor, and it
Mark
was a
Pryor, you get, you can look back. I didn't write any, but I don't think, but you can look back at the columns and, because they 2001, right?
2001.
2001 was it?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
2001.
Well, they needed pitching then, and
Yes.
Pryor was supposedly ready, to pitch, and of course, and that was a hell of a draft because Teixeira was up there
Teixeira.
too.
Yep.
And there's a fourth guy too. There
Yes.
was
Trying to
four
remember.
to be
Yeah.
considered. I can't remember Brazelton or something who never
Drew
made it.
Brazelton.
He
Yeah. I
was
think
one,
that's one of them.
but you wouldn't have went wrong with anyway. But Mike Radcliffe, who made the call, really more than Terry Ryan, the scout, he let him he let him make the call, and he wanted Mauer. So that's and I don't. It wouldn't have been very good PR if you took somebody else.
No, but
Because
for
remember they were 801 was the turnaround season,
yeah,
but they
it
had
was.
8 straight losing seasons before
Yes.
that. You really
Well,
couldn't
and
afford any more bad PR, right?
contraction was going to bubble up,
Yes,
and
that's
you
right.
had everything was just going down. But you think about that, and you're like, just just the guy drafted from St. Paul, somewhat controversially, uh, ends up in the Hall of Fame after getting three batting
Yes,
titles, an
yes, yeah.
MVP. Like it's just how if
It's
you just
not.
take
It's no longer controversial that you took him.
no
I'll tell you that. No, no. It's. I mean, how often does it work that? You'd have to go back and look at the number ones to see how many they started in the mid '60s. So I suppose there's 6 or 7 or 8 of them maybe in the Hall of Fame, but maybe not. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look
in
at
terms of the
them. But
number one overall picks. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't
yeah, I mean,
it
number
usually
one
yeah
overall
yeah
picks.
it
Baseball, especially when you're taking a number one overall pick who's an 18-year-old,
yes
not
right
not 3 years
exactly
in college guy. So
where you know a little bit
yeah.
more.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, his catching numbers until he got the first injuries in 2011 were phenomenal. I mean,
Yes.
it's 365 for God's sakes.
Yes. In
As a catcher,
2009. Yeah.
2009, he was God. I
Yes.
happened. I wrote a piece for tomorrow just for online because it's long. Lavelle was really covering out here more than me, but I ran into Elvis Andrus
Uh-huh.
at the Rangers
Yeah.
house down there, and I said something to. Well, we're kind of surprised Joe made it the first time, and he said, "Oh no, no, he's first ballot for sure." And
Yeah.
he was, a catcher doing that, and he was the greatest, and as a catcher. So that, and I don't think he was BSing me. He was just.
No.
I looked him up, by the way. He played 1,779 games for the Rangers, every one at shortstop.
Wow.
Never played another position, and next to Beltray for most of that time.
That's
So
pretty good.
that's pretty
That's
good left side of the infield. Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's pretty good. And he was a good player. But yeah, you're right. Just Joe, you kind of because of the way it ended and because of
Yeah.
some of the small but vocal critics, you kind of it was easy to kind of either forget or take for granted just how great he really was. And it's a shame that they weren't able to do a little bit more in the
Yes. Yeah.
postseason.
And
They didn't
his postseason numbers were bad
right.
and
They
blah,
were
blah, blah.
yeah.
But you know what hurt him a lot? Changing ballparks.
Yes,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
mean the
All of his batting
target,
titles and MVPs were at the Dome.
Metrodome, that hard. Well, first of all, they didn't shift much then, but that hard three hopper up the middle, the
Yep.
boom, 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 over the mound up the middle, base hit is a target field, and then. He never was a home run hitter, but he hit 28 in 2009. And how many of
Yep.
those were to left field? Oh,
Yes.
probably 20. Well, I don't know how many he
We
hit at the
plotted
Dome.
them. Yeah, I'll have to
So
go back and look. I think
I
at
bet
least
I bet it
half.
was probably half at the Dome. And I remember him killing the ball at target field the first couple of years there, and some guys catching it out in front of the. That's when the cement was wet, and the ball
Yes.
didn't fly. But it's a tougher ballpark. You're dealing with wind and everything.
Yep.
So that hurt him. That he never was a power hitter. I think one thing is as you said, he's 6'5" at the end of his career, and you
Yeah.
expect power, but he always Jimmy O'Neill, who was his coach at Cretan, and I did a piece on him a while back, and said that he always wanted to hit the top of the baseball, not the bottom of the baseball. He was trained to hit line drives, and that certainly worked for him. But he was not going to change what he'd always done to hit 10 extra home runs and lose all his base hits. So.
I wonder. This is hadn't
Jimmy,
thought
and
of this
one other
until
thing,
now. Oh, go
let me
ahead. Yeah,
bring
yeah,
this up too, though. Jimmy also said later in his career, after the concussions and some of the injuries in his first base, he said, I would see him walking back to the dugout, and I could see him saying to himself, "How did I miss that pitch?"
yeah,
Because he said for 15 years, he'd never missed that pitch when he
yeah.
was a kid and growing up. He'd never
Yep.
missed it. And then but he was a little, with the injuries, he was a little slower.
A
So
little
he was a
slower.
little,
Maybe the eyesight
little
wasn't as
yeah,
sharp. I don't know what it
yeah,
was.
yeah. But I mean, he is maybe the greatest athlete in Minnesota history.
Well, yeah. I
Number
mean, you
one,
consider
number one baseball, number
yes.
one recruit in football, all
Mm,
state in basketball,
yeah.
and now all the guys who play pond hockey with him out there
Yep.
next to his house, Morneau and
Yep.
Ryan Lamar, I was talking to the other day,
Yeah.
said, can't believe he didn't play hockey. He's great.
Yeah.
So, but everything he ever did was, just came
Yeah.
easy for him. I mean, I talked to his brother, Jake, and he'd lay on the couch, he'd sit home, watch TV, lay on the couch, get up and go get 3 hits at the Cretan game. One strikeout in high school.
One strikeout.
One strikeout in high school. And
It's
and uh,
amazing.
and another story about him that I got was Matt Burke's brother was their senior catcher, Nick.
Oh, okay.
And he was a freshman, and Jimmy O'Neill said to Jake, his dad, he said, he should catch for me. But Nick's been our catcher I can't pull the plug on Nick for his senior year. And Jake said, let Joe play with his buddies on the freshman team. So, I mean, that's
Wow.
kind of the ego that the family brought to the
Yeah.
situation too. Very low key
Yeah.
ego. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I
But
mean, just amazing. I was just gonna say, I wonder if Joe. What if Joe comes up now? He was a rookie or entered pro ball in 2001. So that's 20, 25 years ago. Do they try to change him if he's
yes, well,
entering the modern era?
well, they tried to change this Austin Martin kid, which is a
Yeah.
different example,
Yeah.
but he couldn't get a hit,
Right.
because they had him trying to lift the ball. So now I don't know. Maybe the Twins would have 2 years ago, but now that they're the slap it around
Right.
Twins,
We're
don't
different
worry
now.
about the home runs
Right.
anymore. So but yeah, it would have been. Well, the other thing is, Mike, not only the way they think about baseball now, but they didn't screw with guys like they do now. I
No.
mean, it's not. I
No.
mean, it's not. This is the analytics, and this is what you're doing wrong, and blah blah blah. And this is, but I think Joe was see the ball, hit the ball.
Yeah.
Still guy,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it would have been interesting to see what they would have done with him. You're right.
And to see kind of how he would have had to adapt to an entire career with I guess the shifts aren't as pronounced anymore because of the rule
So
changes, but
yeah,
just the designer pitches and the designer he would have been great
he
in any era. He'd have been great in any era, but it would have been
He
interesting
wouldn't
to
have
see.
minded the shortstop being gone, though, because he could have hit the
No,
ball. I mean,
that's
he could
true.
have hit that ball through the third baseman didn't play way over into the shortstop
Right.
hole, so he could have.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he did best, hit the ball to left field. So,
Yeah. Um.
and he's got the kids now. He's coaching his son's 6-year-old baseball team,
His
and
son looks
he's
just like him, by the way. Son looks
yeah,
just like him.
yeah, yeah, and. The Twins, I remember when he played his last game and they were 3 and they jumped out of the stands and ran over. Mom had them jump out of the stands.
Yeah.
I said, there's 2 athletes already. They were just motoring.
Right.
So, I mean, here's what we don't know. I go back to Harmon Killebrew, right? And I go
Yep.
back to when the Twins first got here. And they were always, when Harmon struck out, there were always 100 people in the stands out of 18,000
Yeah,
who
that's yeah,
were he struck out again. We're boo
right.
Harmon. They were all he does is strike out. There was that vocal crew,
Yep.
and you just don't want the criticism they get now. You don't know if
Mm-hmm.
the same percentage of people were out there. They just had beyond going to the ball game and booing. They had no outlet. Now
Right.
now they have plenty of outlets if they decide they don't like Bauer. So. I
Yes,
mean,
and
if there's something they didn't like, I don't know what it was.
well, and
And the
they're
idea, plus the one other thing is, they never got their money's worth on the $184 million contract. 2009, he's God.
yeah.
Okay. He's God. And you're moving into a new stadium and you're going to say, yeah, he's going into his free agent here. Is Joe going to stick around? You think that would have been a good PR
No,
decision?
not a great idea.
No.
And like the early part of his career when he's on the rookie minimum or like the
Yeah.
scale contracts, I think they got their money's worth when
Yeah.
he was
Yeah, they did.
3 batting titles and an MVP before he reached free agency. They
Who
were getting
said
pretty good
this?
value on that.
Somebody said this though. Who is he talking about? But basically, in 7, 8, 9, he was like one of the three faces of baseball.
Yeah,
In the
yeah,
whole, he was.
yes.
He was
Between
never
2006 and
Ohtani,
nine.
but
Yeah,
he was like
yeah,
Ohtani and Judge are now the faces of baseball. Well, he was one of the 2 or 3 faces of baseball.
yeah. I mean, think about 2006. They had the batting champ, the MVP, and the Cy Young, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that is true. Morning is, but they had everybody. They were well. Maybe you watched it because they had
Hmm.
a little tape of like 2 minutes about somebody talking about a teammate talking about him, and Morning, of course, did it for him. I mean, we had we had the KO punch, Gillibrew and Oliva, and then you had these two guys. I
The
mean, they
M&M
were
boys.
how come they left? I was trying to think. Why did they let Morning leave? Did they not
Uh,
want him anymore? What was that about?
I mean, he had all the injuries too. He had the concussion problems,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah. He got kicked in the head by
2010 ruined that 2010
second
season,
base. Oh, God, yeah. They would have been good. Well, they were
but
good anyway,
they
but they
were
didn't
good.
have him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they didn't.
yeah. Joe, for all his greatness, he's probably never going to be a professional speaker, speechwriter. His speech was okay.
Yeah, it was
it was
okay.
very it was very Joe. It was very
There's got
Joe.
to be 2 jokes in it. That he
Yeah,
didn't. I mean, of course, if he would have delivered it, nobody would have known it was a joke anyway. So I don't
yeah.
feel, after hearing that speech yesterday, the one I filled in for him on that
Hmm.
Wednesday, that day that the old bed
Yeah,
boy, Hanson called me and said,
yeah.
"Now, if Joe makes the Hall of Fame, he can't do this speech. Can you do this speech?"
Oh yeah, that's
So
right.
I show up on a
That's
Wednesday.
right.
I show up in a pair of jeans and a shirt. There's evening gowns and suits.
Right.
I didn't know there's 250 people there. No notes, of course. I'm going to do it
Uh-huh.
ad lib. And off the top of my head, I say, don't be that disappointed. He would have been boring anyway. And there's one tiny laugh in the back. That
Uh,
was it. I said, this is
tough
going to be a
crowd.
long, this
Tough
is going to be a
crowd.
long day, a long evening. Yeah, they were a little
All
disappointed. It's
uh,
this fat smartass instead of Joe. They were not too
all,
happy, I don't think.
all he had to say yesterday was, "Well, I guess I got upstaged by the other Joe." That's all he had to say.
Yeah,
That's all he had to
yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Anyway, it was, we had amazing numbers. Now, Coors Field had a little to do with it, but God, Elton, my
Oh yeah,
God.
amazing.
I
Yeah.
think it took him 4 years, but God, he is.
Oh
In
yeah.
one year, he goes 372,
Yep.
47, and
Uh-huh.
135 or
Wow.
something.
He was
And
amazing.
doubles. Now, the doubles actually are chintzier in Coors Field than the
Yes,
home runs
because
because
everyone plays so deep.
the outfielders play so deep. So if you hit a line drive out over second, it's an automatic double. Because they got to run a
Right.
mile. So,
Right.
but he had great numbers, man, alive.
Yeah, he did.
And
Ooh,
then, Beltry, I think,
Beltray was
is
great.
maybe
He's a
the
no-brainer.
best third baseman ever because, much better here than Brooks, and just
Yep.
as good a fielder. And
Yep.
And then Leland's fun. So,
Oh yeah, it's a good class. It's a good class.
yeah, it
So.
was. It was. It was fun.
And good point from you at the beginning. Like we might go a while. Like we had a pretty good run
Oh,
here
yeah, right.
of
Well, we
you
got
know.
the two old, thanks to Harold Baines, we got Tony and Harold got in. Harold's got a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame,
Yes.
including Tony and Cott, which is
Yeah.
great to see
Yeah.
those two guys here. Tony is still the happiest Hall of Famer. But I got to tell you, the Twins had that reception again at the museum.
Yep.
They had one like a couple of years ago. So they do a great job there. You know who showed up? Big Poppy showed up
Oh
for the
really? Okay. Yeah.
reception. I don't know if Terry and he had a heartfelt reunion or not
Yeah.
because, but
Nice.
Big Poppy showed up, and then Big Poppy did take a shot at the Twins in the Castiglione ceremony when he
Oh
said
really?
that. Said, yeah, what we go for, because he's talking about the Boston fans. He says, Minnesota is basically the only people who went to games with your family, and well, 2002 was last year. They
Yeah.
drew 1.9 some million and they beat the Moneyballers and
They
they
did.
won more games than the Red Sox. So
Yes, they did.
that said, as I pointed this out in a tweet, it still probably wasn't a good decision to get rid of David Ortiz so you could draft Jose Morban in the Rule
No,
5. That
probably not.
probably wouldn't.
No.
You'd like to redo that
Maybe a
decision,
do-over
right?
on that. Yeah.
Yes.
Wouldn't have been bad to have David Ortiz in the middle of those
No,
2000s
Jose
lineups. That
Morban did hit 3 career home runs, but they were all for Baltimore. I looked that
okay.
up a few years ago.
Oh man.
Unbelievable!
Yeah.
It's one of the great wonders in sports history, not
Yeah.
just Twins history.
Yes. Yes.
Royal Credit Union's smart checking accounts offer no monthly fees and no minimum balance. Enjoy financial freedom when you open your Royal Credit Union smart checking account online at rcu.org/go-checking. Insured by NCUA.
Great weekend for Joe. Great weekend for Twins fans. Not a great weekend for the Twins.
Well, did you get the feeling that with Correa hurt now and everything, and then right before the break, they to lose 5 out of 6? So what are they now? 7 out of 8, something like that? Didn't
I don't
they
think they lost
lose?
that many. No, they didn't lose that many in
And
the break. They
or were
lost
they
two. They
two
lost
and
two out of 3. They lost.
okay?
But
But
they've
they
been winning all the series
it
before
looks a
that.
little it looks a
Little
little
shaky.
funky.
Little
It
shaky
looks a
right
little
now.
funky here, and the bullpen is not doing the job. And Joe Ryan pitched great for a while, and then but yeah, they're yeah, and I don't know. The lineup doesn't look the same without Correa and Royce
Well,
Lewis, that's for sure. So,
and they can't beat
I,
good teams. They can't beat good
no,
teams.
that's true.
Phil had the tweet yesterday. Phil Miller said 6 MLB teams currently have a better record than the Twins. The best of them, the Phillies, visit Target Field this week. The other 5, they're combined 19-2 against the Twins and have beaten them 14 straight.
Wow, the Brewers, yeah. I mean, you let the Brewers mug you. You end up, you get some runs and you still get beat by them.
Yeah.
So, is there anything stupider than having 2-game series against the Brewers at home? You could have. They could have been here Friday. They would have had 40, 40, and 38
I
or
know.
something like
I mean,
that. Next
at least
year,
they're
I
not doing.
guess next year they're going to go back to playing those rival 6 times instead of 4.
Oh,
I
that's
guess
good.
on the schedule.
The only thing dumber was when they used to make them do them like middle of the week and then flip flop them, like do the Monday,
Yeah,
Tuesday, Wednesday,
yeah,
Thursday at
yeah.
different ballparks. At least you get
They're
a
really
weekend,
they're
two
really
weekend
hung up
games.
on the arithmetic.
Yes.
It's got to fit out. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, that's. I don't know. I just get I'm watching them, and I didn't get to see them this weekend, but I was
Hmm.
watching them last weekend when I was in there. And I'm getting that bad vibe again. They go
Yeah.
that way. They go up and down. So,
They've had to
but
had to
but you got
IL Correa and
yeah, and Miranda forgot.
Paddock. Yeah. Yeah.
Is Miranda still out too? Right? What's
I
stiff
think
back? He didn't play, did
I
he?
think so. I didn't see him. I didn't see him out there. I didn't double check, but I didn't see any. He wasn't. When they were shuffling guys around, he wasn't one of the guys that came back up. Now he was eligible to come off, I
I
think,
don't
but I
know.
don't.
They put him on the DL, but yeah,
They had IL'd him, but I don't think he played this weekend. I think he was eligible to come off, but I don't think he did.
okay.
So yeah, and that's not you can't take that many good guys out of your lineup.
No.
You don't have Miranda, Lewis, or Correa. then,
Yeah.
and you still scored. The
Oh,
scoring
did
wasn't the
they tell
problem.
us anything about Correa? Or was it wasn't supposed to be as bad, but
It
now
wasn't supposed to be
he's.
as bad. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we're having that abundance of caution again. I hope that's our only
But
hope, right? That it's an
well,
abundance
but
of
the
caution.
other thing is the cure for plantar fasciitis is playing and having it rip.
Right.
So what he,
Right. That's
and
true.
they can't. Apparently, they just can't go in there and rip it. That doesn't work. You gotta do it naturally. So it's too bad because that guy was playing great,
Oh
man.
yeah.
When he
He was
started hitting, he's the best shortstop we've ever had, and that's too bad. You know what? I think there's a little extra PR in him when he talks and stuff. But he's a pretty good dude, I think,
I
too.
think so too.
He's a
Yeah.
teammate and stuff.
Yeah.
He's okay. He's a pretty good guy.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about the leadership is such a loaded kind of,
Yes.
whatever word, but it's at least a piece of why you get someone like that. Like if you're gonna spend that much on a
Yes.
player as a team like the Twins, you got to be getting more than just the numbers, right? It's got to be someone who you think can influence your clubhouse. And I think he's done that. He's done a good job of that. That's for sure. But at the end of the day, though, you gotta have guys that hit too. You gotta have other guys around you. Like Buxton homered twice yesterday. It wasn't
Yes.
really the offense wasn't the problem this weekend. It was that they couldn't
No.
stop anybody with the bullpen is just maybe an arm short right now. They got to get Brock Stewart back. That's for sure.
Yeah. All righty. Well, what else? How about the other thing that caught my attention
Yeah,
was the USA Olympic team beating South Sudan by one on a
by
buzzer
one.
beater.
That's
You know what? This old folks team they put together was not a good idea. I mean, LeBron's past his prime. Steph is a little past his prime. Durant way past his
yeah,
prime.
Durant. Yeah.
And I mean, it was going to be this old folks home thing. And how did that happen? How did they give up 100 points to South Sudan? For goodness sakes!
That's
I mean,
amazing. That's what a
yeah,
story they are. I mean, they've been a country for what, like 11 years, I think, and
yeah, right.
they just started their basketball program. Luol Deng, former Wolves player, is
Uh-huh.
in charge of their whole
Oh,
operation
is that
there.
right? Good
Yeah,
for him. He's a good guy.
yeah.
And
So that's gonna be
yeah,
that'll be
that'd
a
be
movie in
great
5 years. They're a great
if they
story.
could. Yeah.
The fact that they're in the
Well,
Olympics. But yeah, I
I
was
know.
reading like who their guys are, and it's like someone who was like a G League MVP 2 years ago, and
Oh,
got a couple guys who played in college, somebody who played like maybe 60 games in the NBA. It's not like they don't have like even one like bona fide like long-term NBA guy on their team. It's like a bunch
now,
of
do they have to be
cast-offs.
South Sudanese, or can Grandma have been a South
That's a good
Sudanese,
question. I don't know.
like the Olympic hockey teams from
That's a
Italy and
good
places like
question.
that?
It
If Grandma visited there 20, 30, 40 years ago,
right.
you're eligible to play. So,
Yeah, I don't
uh,
know, but yeah, but the fact that they almost like they took a LeBron layup like right at the end for the U.S. to win that game, what 101 to 100, and yeah, it's just like it's a tune-up. It's there were they'll
yeah,
maybe it was a wake-up call, things like that. But I think South Sudan made a bunch of threes, but still, it's like you
yeah.
should still cruise to a 20 or 30 point win in that game if you're the U.S. So
South Sudan,
that's
yeah.
interesting. South Sudan,
It was. I saw that was fantastic. And the British Open.
yes,
How about Shoffley? He couldn't
yes.
win one, and now he's won two in a row. But I didn't get to watch it. But Saturday must have been the same thing. When I covered, the only one I covered was 2002, and on Saturday morning, guys were teeing off in bluebird weather, beautiful weather, and about 5 hours later, this big, ugly gray
Oh yeah.
cloud comes out over the Firth of Forth, and Tiger and these guys got caught out in it in the rain, driving rain, howling wind. Tiger shot 81. That's when he'd won like four of the
Yeah.
last five majors
Yeah.
or something. And I mean, they just keep playing over there. Apparently, Saturday afternoon, the wind was like 50 miles an hour, and Steve Lowry was leading, and he ends up going 6 over and gets knocked out of it. And it's a lot of perchance going on playing in those golf courses, that's for sure. But Tiger shot. There was a par 3 hole, and we were there like 210, 220, and they were hitting 8 irons, 7, 8 irons just early in the day. They were hitting driver and not getting there in the afternoon. It's like, it's unbelievable. It's a funky place to play golf. That's for sure. They're not really well manicured. You just go out there and go get them.
It's like the whole tournament.
Now they're all. Now, is Justin Rose going to show up for us or not? He was supposed to be in the field, but he for the 3M Open, but he ends up finishing second. So
he was good. He shot 67 yesterday. It wasn't that he didn't play well. It was just Xander shot a 65. It's like I was going to say though, the whole tournament looks like it's played in that scene from Caddyshack, where they're like, I don't think the heavy stuff's supposed to come down for a while now. Everyone's looking around like, just play through it.
But they do play in it.
They do play.
And the thing is, the ground's so hard over there. From that it just the water just rolls off. They don't it's a weird kind of thing. But 3M Open this week. We'll see if there's gonna be a lot of guys we never heard of, but hopefully they got a few that are showing up that we've heard of. And Justin Rose was in the field, but he can withdraw till after I think he was looking for points to get in the top 70. And now he's in, so sometimes that's a long trip to make after you're fighting for the title on Sunday. So, good luck to him. How's the weather going to be back home? Are we done raining here? I haven't looked at the forecast.
I think we're supposed to get a little bit still today and tomorrow, but that's okay. I think I think everything I've seen in the forecast from Wednesday forward looks clear. It's going to get kind of hot this weekend, next weekend, but I think it looks good.
We got the Phillies here this week now.
We got the Phillies here, and we got the big golf tournament. We got the Vikings. Maybe we'll finish there, Patrick. Vikings start training camp. I think today is the day that we hear from Kevin O'Connell and Quasido Fomensa. It's not the start of camp, but they've got to just kind of address the media, and I'm sure they'll have a lot of stuff to talk about with the off season and with what happened with Jordan Addison the other day and stuff like that. So that'll be interesting to me because it's culture test time.
Have they done anything on Kyrie outside of Kyrie Jackson outside of releasing statements? Have they talked about it at all?
I don't know. I think this might be the first time they're really out there taking questions on that and Addison, aside from statements and, as you wrote last week, gathering more information. I hope they have the information that they need now.
Yeah. Well, Addison, now there's something. He wasn't actually, he was released very quickly, maybe because he refused to take a break. I don't know. They have some California law that I was trying to read about, but I don't know what caused him to be sleeping. And we can't be certain that he was sleeping one off, but something there's some wire loose when you're parked in a lane near LAX.
Correct.
On a freeway there.
Yes.
Because you're nuts. Because there's 5 lanes of people driving 80 miles an hour.
1,000,000 miles an hour. Yeah, you don't want to do that.
So, as I said, he's now been arrested and picked up. Stopped, not arrested, but stopped for going 140 and going 0. That's probably the greatest. That's probably the greatest difference in traffic tickets in history.
Yes.
Would you say?
Yes, I would say.
And 0.
Yes, in a Lamborghini and a Rolls Royce.
Royce, he's trying. Boy, I hope for his sake he gets a second contract. He's going to be on one of those ESPN 30 for 30s 5 years from now, broke athletes. So anyway.
It's a big year for him. Big year for him to kind of decide what he wants this to be. What he wants this to be.
Somebody tweeted this, and I forgot that. But when he got drafted and he came up, he did the graphics of dollar bills inside his suit coat or something like
I
that?
don't remember that. Maybe. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, check that out. It was something
I don't
like
pay
he was
attention to
like
the.
dollar signs. He kind of flashed. He had the dollar or 20 to
Okay.
$100 bills or something inside. I don't know. You might want to check that out. So,
Okay. Big
all
week for
right,
the big week for the Vikings. You got to go though.
okay, I gotta head for Philadelphia. Yeah,
Yeah. Good luck,
hopefully
Patrick. Get home.
Come
Get
on,
home.
Delta, get her
Come on,
together.
Delta. Get everybody home.
Okay.
Just the glitch that messed up everybody's life.
Yes. All right, Mike.
All right, so
See ya.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.